Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only Ron Barron, billionaire investor, long-term Tesla bull, massive supporter of Elon Musk, huge brain, and an exceptional multi-decade investment track record.
Okay, you are an investor. Your top two holdings are Tesla and SpaceX. You also have a holding in X.com. And Elon's got a pretty large role in this new incoming Trump administration. Do you worry at all as an investor that that's going to take more of his time, or do you think his companies will benefit because he's able to be there?
This is an advisory role, so I don't think, right now he's doing a lot of advising. I don't know how active he is in choosing the people who are being placed in these roles. But he was supposed to come. We had a funny bit planned. I was telling you about this before. And we were initially going to do a Saturday Night Live open.
Here at the Barron Investment Conference today.
Yeah. And then I told him about this. He said, well, why don't we do 30 minutes about talking about the future instead? I said, okay, great. And then they called yesterday and said he can't do it. He's in Mar-a-Lago. He can't arrange it. Can't leave. Can't come in. Can't get the Jeep.
So he's actively involved. We've heard the reports about this, but you've heard it too.
The people in SpaceX told me that he doesn't miss any meetings. Okay. So he comes to these meetings, same thing with Tesla. I don't understand how he's able to do all this.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's enough hours in the day.
No, it's amazing what he does. And he lives on airplanes and flies around all over. I don't see how anyone can compete with him the way he works. But I think that, so he says, well, I'm not a spring chicken anymore. He's 53, I guess.
I'm sorry, he says what?
He says, I'm not a spring chicken anymore. He's 53. I'm 81. So he's 53 and he flies all over. And so he, it takes a toll on his body. But boy, he is sharp. He can talk about everything, anything, like William the Great, the Conqueror, just everything. He's so well read. And I guess he must have a photographic memory. He remembers everything.
We've seen his stocks jump significantly. I think Tesla shares were up about 30% in the first week or so after the election. And Elon himself has said recently, just watching the stock fluctuate, that he sees things a little more like Warren Buffett. When people are looking at a house and yelling out prices all day, it doesn't make a lot of sense. To him, it's still the same house. Does the huge jump...
It's kind of an interesting comment from Becky here. It's almost like there are people who don't look at stocks like that. Warren's analogy is great, by the way, for those who haven't heard. Imagine a neighbor, right? And every day they just yell over the fence what they think the house is worth. The house has not changed at all. It's still the same fucking house. Their opinion on what it's worth is irrelevant. A lot of people, though, groupthink, herd mentality, they seem to inherit the opinions of their neighbors yelling the price of what their house is worth as opposed to looking at the actual house itself.
And the stock price makes sense to you as an investor, and what are you doing just in terms of buying and selling? Well,
stock price is the same as it was 3 years ago. So it was higher 3 years ago than it is today, actually. Yes. And the way I think about Tesla is I think that Mazar cost, I met him in 2010. It took 4 years before I became convinced to invest in him. He said, what took you so long? And we invested $400 million between 2014 and 2016.
Just in Tesla, or is that
everything? Just in Tesla.
Just in Tesla.
$400 million in Tesla, 14 to 16, and we made about $6 billion in profit so far. And we sold a quarter of our stock in 2020.
Yeah.
3 years ago, 2021, after it had gone up 20 times. And
there were people who questioned you at the time why you were selling 25%. I think you told us that it was because it had gotten to be such a big part of the portfolio.
Yeah, it was too big. It was 20 and up 20 times. And the idea that I wanted to have is I didn't want people to think that I had died, and that's why they still own the stock. So I wanted to admit. And by the way, so one of my good friends is Will Danoff, and he is at Fidelity. And I was telling him, I just read something about the people who've done the best in your funds are the people who are dead. Is that true? He says, well, I never heard that before, but I'll look it up. So he goes and looks it up. He calls me back the next day. He says, well, you challenge me all the time. 3% of my shareholders are dead, and they actually have held it on an average for 18 years, and they're my best performing shareholders.
Imagine my shock. Not actually. That investors who simply buy and hold over the long term would outperform everyone else. Story time. Many, many years ago, in fact, before many people watching this video were actually born. Not kidding, by the way. I had set a goal of, wait for it, solving the money problem. And I was doing everything I possibly could to learn about investing in real estate while saving my first deposit. I began regularly attending investor meetups to learn from people 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 plus years my senior who'd invested in real estate over the decades. And one question I asked everyone at these meetups: what's the biggest mistake you've made when it comes to investing? You know what every single one of these motherfuckers said to me, bar none? Every single person who'd been investing in real estate for multiple decades had a story that went something like this. My biggest mistake? Easy. I bought a house in 1982. It had tripled in value 10 years later. I sold it, made a massive profit. But it's gone up 10 times since then. I wish I'd kept it. Next person, same fucking story. Yeah, I bought this place, it went up a shitload, I sold it, massive profit, but I should have kept it, it's gone up even more. Over and over and over, I heard some variation of the exact same story if I just held on to the asset longer. And I dug a little bit deeper. I kept hearing this story. I'm like, okay, cool. What did you do with the money? Almost everybody had the same story with that too. Well, I just reinvested it somewhere else after I paid my capital gains tax. I'm like, wait, so you sold a piece of real estate you wish you'd kept simply so you could pay some taxes on a portion of your profit and have less money left over to then buy another piece of real estate? Wait, but then why didn't you just keep it? And they would say, yeah, good point. Big mistake. This was a very eye-opening period of time for me, asking so many people with so much experience in investing their biggest mistake, and everyone had the same story. In short, I should have kept it. I'm a dumb fuck. I didn't even have a good reason to sell. I just wanted to lock in a profit. As a result, first piece of real estate I bought in 2010, I still own. I also own the next piece I bought and the next and the next. I haven't sold any real estate. And Tesla began buying in 2016. You know how many shares of Tesla stock I've sold so far? 0. I'm absolutely not going to be one of those people with the big regrets. And to be clear, this doesn't mean that it doesn't ever make sense to sell an asset. But if you're looking out into the distant future and you see a very meaningful appreciation in terms of the value of the asset you hold, you better have a damn good reason for selling. E.g., you've identified a much better risk-adjusted opportunity. Otherwise, why not just continue to hold? The fact that dead people who can't sell outperform everyone else over and over and over is all you need to know.
Goes to your point of you buy things and you hold for very long periods of time.
As long as they're doing well.
Yeah.
And when they're not doing well, or when the fundamentals change, or it becomes too big a percentage of the portfolio,
you went through a couple of years where you could have classified Tesla as such. You had a couple of rough years, and talk to us in the middle of some of those years over the last 3 years.
Well, 2014 to 2016, when we invested that $400 million, the stock was acting like a yo-yo.
Yeah.
And for the past 3 years, the stock has also been a yo-yo performing stock, because what they're doing is that they're reinvesting in their business. They're penalizing current profitability to become a much bigger business in the future. And whenever that happens, so the reason we've outperformed, so I was telling you before, 97% of our assets do better than the indexes, 94, 95%, top 20%.
You have $45 billion in assets under management right now.
Right.
And that, in terms of what the profits you've paid back to investors since 1992 when the partnership first began, that's $49 billion?
We had $100 million in under management in 1992, $10 million in 1982. Now it's $45 billion, but we've made $49 billion in profits. So we paid people over the past 30 years $4 billion more than we made them, more than they've given us, but we now have $45 billion. I'm hoping that in the next 10 years we can quadruple our assets.
Your faith in Elon Musk sounds like it's stronger than ever. Is this a stock that you would sell? Just from the perspective of if it goes up so much, it's going to be a bigger and bigger part of your portfolio.
So I think that it's right now worth $1 trillion. And what's Bitcoin, $1.7 trillion? So would I rather have 2 Teslas or 1 Bitcoin? So basically, the way I think about it is that Tesla, I think, is going to be worth $3 or $4 trillion, $5 trillion in 10 years, based upon the business plan that I'm aware of. And then Elon believes that longer term, it's going to be worth $30 trillion. It's now being worth $1 trillion.
Do you believe that?
Well, the people from Goldman Sachs were doing something for me. One of the executives in California who's being groomed, I think, to be the next CEO of Goldman Sachs, he and 3 other people from Goldman came to visit me this past summer at my house in East Hampton. And they were telling me, his name is Dan Dees, they were telling me that Elon, Goldman then was struggling to get their business value from 150 billion in the market to 180 billion. So Elon said, why don't you come to my plant in Palo Alto where I have Optimus robots? I want you to see what that is. So he says, so we go there, I take the board and we go out. He says, Ron, it's dystopian, it's amazing, you got to go see this. So I went to see it. And there's robots walking all over. And the idea that he has is that So here we have, there wouldn't be any EVs without him, there wouldn't be any autonomous driving without him, there wouldn't be any rockets you use over and over without him, you wouldn't have any Starlink without him. So the idea is that this Optimus robots, he thinks is going to be his biggest business ever. And he thinks that, he says everyone's going to have robots. And my big question was when I was watching these things walking around and how intelligent they're becoming, super intelligent, I said, well, can they procreate? That's the question I have. And how is that going to happen?
But is this your way of saying, no, you're not going to sell shares of any of your companies or your investments in?
No. Just, if they get too big, then I'll have to trim a little bit, but no. Yeah. I have no intention.
So Ron Barron believes Tesla 3, 4, 5x in value over the next 10 years. I mean, who wouldn't be happy with that? And then he points out that Musk believes the company could get to 30 trillion, which is roughly a 30x from where we are today, on the back of Optimus humanoid robots. Ron then goes on to point out accurately that Musk has done a handful of impossible things, most of them simultaneously. Therefore, I mean, why would you want to bet against the guy? And the question about the humanoid robots is not, could the successful scaling of a fuck ton of useful, increasingly capable and intelligent humanoid robots over time deliver a $30 trillion valuation to Tesla? The answer to that, yes. The question is, will it happen? If it does, that $30 trillion valuation is likely to seem conservative over time. I've gone through the numbers in great detail in many other videos in the past. It's pretty simple. If we use a nice round number, let's say there's roughly a 1-to-1 ratio of humanoid robots to humans. Just imagine that every person on Earth has their own robot buddy, but that of course doesn't include robots used in industry for production and manufacturing. There's likely to be 2-to-1, 3-to-1, 4-to-1, 10-to-1, who knows? And let's just say that Tesla gets a mere 10% of that. That's a billion robots. Do the math on that. A billion robots, $20,000 a pop. That already, $20 trillion in revenue. But wait, there's more. The software to operate them per month, how much is that? If these things can add more value than a typical full-time worker, which might be a $50,000 a year plus salary, let's round that down enormously, say $10,000 a year. You buy a robot that can do, let's say, $50,000 to $100,000 of work per year, but it only costs you $10,000 worth of software. No brainer. You now multiply that $10,000 times that 1 billion robots per year, and you're looking at $10 trillion per year of almost pure margin profit from the fleet of robots. The numbers are astounding. That $10 trillion a year, absurd. And at this point, the numbers get so ridiculous, I almost have to double check. I'm like, wait a minute, did I miss a few zeros here? How is that possible? Did we just somehow get to $10 trillion a year of annual profits on a fleet of 1 billion bots, paying less than $1,000 per month for software, $10,000 a year? Did we just really just get to $10 trillion in annual profits? What the fuck? And if you think that's absurd, and it is, but it could happen, knock off an order of magnitude. How about 100 million humanoid robots, $10,000 per year in software? If there's 100 million humanoid robots, which could be a 1% share of 10 billion, or a 10% share of 1 billion, $10,000 a year for the software, almost pure profit. We're still looking at $1 trillion a year in profits. You put a 30 times the multiple on that, fairly reasonable, you're at a $30 trillion valuation. I know how absurd this sounds, but that's the whole point. Everything Musk has done over the long term has sounded absurd at the time. It doesn't mean it's guaranteed to happen, but you have to ask yourself the question, what if it does?
You brought up Bitcoin, and before we came on, you were talking about how you wanted to congratulate Joe on what he's bought with Bitcoin. If you want to do it, this may be the opportunity. I promised I would remind you.
So my idea is...
Look there if you're going to talk.
So my idea about Bitcoin is that you've done the same thing with Bitcoin that I do with my businesses. So you know more about Bitcoin than anyone else. So you can't make a decision based on someone else is telling you and do the best. You have to do the work yourself. You've done the work yourself on Bitcoin. Congratulations on doing it. Congratulations on whatever it becomes. It wasn't for me, but good going. And for me, the work that you do on Bitcoin is the same kind of work that we do on SpaceX or Tesla, all the other businesses in which we invest, that we know more about it than anyone else. You can't rely on someone else to tell you what to do. You have to be able to make a decision on what you know, not on what someone's telling you.
Pure facts here from Ron Barron. This is the thing that separates people from creating real wealth over time and humiliating themselves while simultaneously destroying their capital. You have to use your own brain, do your own thinking, analyze opportunities yourself, and act accordingly. You can't rely on other people. A quick tangent here. It is infuriating to me when I see people crying in the comments on videos from people who talk about a million different stocks all the time. Bought this, sold this, 10 stocks to buy now, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I bought the stock that you bought. I lost money. Fuck you, you stupid bitch. Where is your personal ownership and responsibility, okay? I won't name names, but there are many high-profile content creators who happen to have been very heavy on a particular stock here or there that's absolutely imploded. Some of them gone bankrupt. Other creators ranting and raving about some shit coins they bought that are now worth nothing, or NFTs. And amazingly, people who watch their content with zero personal ownership or responsibility, oh, they bought that, I'm going to buy it, I don't need to think for myself. And then things go pear-shaped. They try and blame the person, the content creator. Okay? No. You fucked up. You should have used your own brain and you should be taking responsibility for your own investing decisions. Every video I've ever published on this YouTube channel, there's nearly 2,000 of them, in the comments says, don't be a sheep. Use your own brain. And I mean it. You've got to think for yourself. And when you do think for yourself, this is how you build conviction. This is how you avoid panic selling at the worst possible time. But if you haven't thought for yourself, you're just following the herd. If others are panicking, what are you going to do? You're going to panic too and be embarrassed and reminded of your epic embarrassment for years to come. Step 1, use your brain. Step 2, there is no step 2. Just use your fucking brain. Want more content? Early access? Bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. AG1 is awesome. I've been taking it daily now for more than 3 years. It's a great way to fill in nutritional gaps. It's packed full of vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients, plus has prebiotics, probiotics, and adaptogens to improve gut health, regularity, and help your body handle stress. I'm always looking for an edge to help me feel and perform my best, which is why I haven't missed a day of AG1 for more than 3 years. And I haven't missed a daily video in more than 3 years. Must be a coincidence, right? Just try it and see how you feel. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs. But don't take my word for it. This is what viewers of the channel had to say after trying AG1. I feel like I have a lot more energy since I started on AG1. By the way, viewer, that makes 2 of us. On to the next. Just got my AG1 in the mail. Legit feeling the effects after day 3. This viewer's been taking AG1 for 8 months and says, what an investment. Another. 3 months ago, I started AG1 and have been enjoying the evenness of alertness and energy that lasts the day. I just started the wife on it too. Are you convinced yet? I mean, hey, it's worth trying, right? Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR or I can keep going. Plenty more to come. This viewer, after about a month on AG1, definitely a lack of fatigue in the afternoon. Pleasant side effect is that my coffee intake has imploded and is almost down to 0. One more? Yeah, why not? I honestly feel younger and will be continuing to use AG1. This stuff really is crazy good. I didn't think it would be, but this stuff is awesome. It really is what everyone is saying. One more? Don't mind if I do. I've just received my 3rd month supply. I've drank it every day. I have so much energy throughout most of the day. I'm productive, started a new business, started socializing, refurbished a boat. It's no coincidence. Thank you for your persistence, your integrity, and your insights. Now look, these are not my words. These are not my testimonials. This is what you guys and girls are saying. Maybe it's 100% placebo effect. But even if that's the case, I think it's money well spent. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs. If you're still skeptical, hey, I don't blame you. Everyone on the planet seems to be promoting AG1 now, but guess what? They weren't nearly 3 years ago when I had this to say privately to my Patreon audience before there was a relationship, when I was asked about what I was doing for my health, energy, and so on. Just sharing my genuine, honest thoughts about a product I'd recently discovered that was at the time called Athletic Greens, now AG1. If I could only recommend one supplement to take, Athletic Greens, and I'm not getting paid to say this, Athletic Greens is a fucking game changer. I cannot believe how effective this is. No longer having a lack of energy in the afternoons. It's fucking amazing. There's only one thing to recommend, seriously. Try Athletic Greens. You won't go back. So obviously, just like Elon Musk is a liar, a fraud, a con man, a scammer, a fake engineer, and Tesla's going bankrupt, you shouldn't trust that guy from about 3 years ago who, without any financial incentive, was promoting this product to his audience on Patreon when they were asking about health and what he's doing for supplements. Because obviously, there was some other reason he recommended that, obviously. Not sure what it was, but don't trust that guy. And all the testimonials, like my mental game has improved with AG1. I feel better than ever. I'm so impressed I've bought it for both my parents. I feel more focused and have better digestion. Incredible difference. No more afternoon fatigue. It's relieved gut issues. These are all just obviously fake testimonials from fake people. Right? Wrong. Just try it. Unless you hate yourself. If you hate yourself and you don't even want to risk possibly feeling better, this is not for you. But for everyone else, what's the worst that could happen? Try it for a month. See how you feel. It's a no-brainer. Just click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR. You'll get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 and K2 plus 5 travel packs. And you'll take the colossal risk that maybe you might have a similar experience to some of the people whose testimonials we've read in this video.